Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and now we are in class number 6. Remember, if you want to check the other videos that we have, you're free to go to our website, to our channel, and then from there you can start an entire mini training course that we have here for Maya. Now, obviously, if you want to learn everything about Maya, then you will go to our website. Well, sorry about the commercial, but all right, so let's try to use some materials to color this guy, because right now it's all gray and that really doesn't look very interesting. So what we need is, first of all, our Hypershader. All right, and the Hypershader, I can find it right here. If I go to Window, I can go to Rendering Editors, and then I will go to Hypershade. It's actually Hypershade, not Hypershader, but I will call it like this. And now, other way of working with this is, if you go down here, if I'm going to make that bigger. Remember, at the beginning of this training, I show you, I told you that we have this other window. If you press this one, you're going to call the Hypershade too. So, but I'm going to use the other version. I'm going to have this like this, so you don't see the timeline, but you're still going to have access to all the rest of the interface, and that will give us a little bit more space. So this is my Hypershade, and I like to set, I call it, I refer to it like if it was my paint shop, okay? So I can come here and look for materials, look for colors, look for textures. Everything is inside this panel. Now, how this works is that we have different options here. The first thing we have is called the Create tab. And here, if I click, I'm going to see all the different materials or shaders that I can use inside Maya. Now, Maya comes with the option of loading all the mental ray shaders, and if you do that, you will see here another option called mental ray. But for now, we're going to keep things simple, so we're going to use all the Maya shaders that we have here. And the first thing is that we will go to surface. For example, if I click on surface, let me make that bigger so that we can see better. So right now, if I go to Maya, I have access to everything, every single option. But if I go to surface, I only have options for surfaces, which are materials. Then I will go to volumetric, then I will go to displacement, 2D textures, 3D textures, environmental textures, other textures, lights, etc., etc. So everything is organized, organized, and really, a very nice way, because obviously I can come and select a specific option, and that way I know where everything is. So the first thing, we need a surface. And now, what type of object we have here? This is actually kind of, I don't know, I was gonna create an airplane, and then we have this kind of helicopter kind of thing. Well, actually it doesn't have the blades, but give us that idea. And then I was trying to show you how to use the bridge tool, and I end up doing this kind of thing. And I don't know, it could be a toy, right? And then we can hang it from here with to the ceiling or something, and that's why we have that thing. I don't know, but the main thing is just to show you the tools. So what I will do is specify what type of material that I want. Right now, you can see that we have all these different materials. The anisotropic, then I have the Blinn, hair, Lambert, layered, ocean shader, Fung E, ramp shader, shading map, surface shader, and use background. So why we have all these type of backgrounds? Well, let's go quick. The anisotropic, the Blinn, and the Fung, they actually have some kind of shining surface, and that will help us if we want to create things like glass, for example, or metal. We can actually use these type of materials. Now, if you want to use something like wax, for example, you will use the Lambert. If you want something like cement, you will use the Lambert, because we don't have all these reflections and access to reflections, and the specularity is less intense. We actually have it looks more like a flat object, not that shiny. And we have all these versions because, for example, the Fung, as you can see, if I click on the Fung, you're going to have access to another kind of view where you can see it better. We have a representation here of the Fung. Now I'm going to click on Fung E, and you can see it's a little bit different. Then I will get the Blinn, and now this is more like metallic kind of thing, and so on. Then we have the hair, same thing. Then the ocean shader, this one looks more like water, and but still, you're gonna have different options here. You can access to them and try to see what type of material you want before you apply colors and textures. What I mean is, what is gonna be the base of your object? It's gonna be wood. Well, then we will use the Lambert probably, but it's gonna be wood painted with a coat of transparent layer. You know, the one that is making it look shiny. Well, then I won't use a Lambert. Then I will use probably a Fong or a Fong E, and things like that. So for now, let's keep things simple. So what I will do is I'm going to select a bleen, all right? And so I have a bleen already here. And what I will do is, if you select a bleen here, you will get access to it right here in the attribute editor. And then I can come here and change that name, and I'm going to call this my material. Okay, so that way I know that this one is not a bleen anymore and is my material. So I have the name right here, and I know that I can get rid of all these other ones that I really don't need. So I will take the hair tube and I will delete it. I'm going to take the Lambert one. I'm going to leave the Lambert one. Then I'm going to take the ocean shader and I'm going to remove the Fong 1 and the Fong E1 because those are the ones that I created. Now, by default, you have one object attached to your object. I mean, one texture or one material attached to your object. Otherwise, we wouldn't have anything. And I'm going to select this object, and then I'm going to go pressing this little arrow here until I go to the end. And then you can see that this one is connected to the Lambert number 1. And this is the default material that we have, and that's why all our objects look gray at the beginning. And I don't like to delete this object. I really want to keep it like that. So if you want to have another one, just bring another Lambert and work with that one. Yeah, something that I will do sometimes is change the color, as you saw me at the beginning, but it's in weird cases. All right. So now, in order to assign this material to my object, my material, I need to specify what object I want. So first of all, I will select this object, okay, which is the plane. And then I will go to my material, I will place my cursor on top of it, and then I right click, and then I have all these options. And I have one option called Assign Material to Selection. So I will release, and now this object has that material applied. And as you can see, it now looks a little bit more shiny, and that's really nice, okay, because that's the type of thing that I probably want. Now let's talk about this other section. Right here at the top, I have let's say that I have here the storage, all right, here where I have all my paint, and then here I have my table where I'm gonna put my paint. And imagine that I have my objects here, and then I bring them on top of this table, and then I will work with these materials in this other table. Okay, I know that probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's the way I like to see it so that you can understand it better, because here we have all the objects that we bring into our scene. All these objects are existing inside Maya, but we are not using it. They are stored here in our shop. Then if we want to use them, we will need to bring them into our table. So I will take them from here and place them right here on the top. And then if we want to work with them, we will take them down here at the work area. All right. So right now we have my material right here, and I can see the material, but I don't see how this material was created. So what I will do is go to these options right here, and I will click on this one that shows me the inputs and outputs of this object. So if I click on this one, I can see that this object is connected to this other one, to this other object, which is actually the one that is giving me the material. So what is this one? This one is only the one that is allowing me to tweak the material. Okay, and I know you will find out what I'm trying to say here. So the first thing is that I need to change the color, right? So I don't need to add another color right here. I can just select my material, and I can go to the properties of this material, and you can see that right here I have the color attributes, the transparency attributes, incandescence, diffuse, translucence, etc., etc. And then if I select this one called the Bling 1SG, I will go to this other option, okay, which is my Blink 1 SG. And you can see that this is the shading engine. This is actually the one that is building the material, but I need to specify what I'm gonna send to this one. And what I'm sending is this my material, which is actually inside here. And that's why in this one is where I can specify the color, or right away I can change from here the type of material that I want to use. If I don't want a blend anymore, I can go and change it to an ocean shader or to a fong. Okay, it doesn't matter. But for now, we're going to stay with the blend material, and then I'm going to go here and change the color. For example, I probably want to give it a yellow kind of color, so I will click on it, and that's fine. You can select by clicking on this color. You can move this range of colors, and you can specify the amount of hue, saturation, and value that you want for your object. But for now, let's just keep it like, I don't know, something like this. Okay, then if you want to come out of there, just remove your cursor from there or click outside of that, and that way we will have our objects working perfectly fine one more time. Now, let's see, what else can we do here? Now, what I will do is I'm going to move this object from here because I don't want you to, I want you to see what's happening here. So now I have my material, I have the color right here, and now I have another parameter called transparency, which right now it's in black, but if I go all the way to my right, I will make it transparent. And this is gonna give me a different intensity of transparency. And if you want to create something like that looks like glass or something like that, you have access to this transparency parameter that you can tweak and get that kind of result, okay? But for now, we want to keep that solid, so we don't want transparency. The next one is ambient color, where I can change the ambience of this color. Right now, this is only visible in render time. So right now, as you can see, it looks like nothing is happening in my viewport, but if you pay attention to this area, you can see how this object is kind of more colorful. We have more saturation, it's more vibrant. So if we take a render of this object, you will see that now the shape is a lot more you know, it calls your attention a lot more. Okay, it's burning. The color is like it's on fire, and that's great. So the next one is called incandescence, and this one you can see right away what is happening here. I'm increasing the incandescence, and I'm kind of moving. If you're familiar with gamma correction and things like that, it's kind of the same thing, but it's in some cases we can use this parameter to emit light, and that's something that we are not going to cover right now, but just use it, for example, in lights. You want to put a texture into a light bulb and things like that, you can use it. And you know, I will never say you have to use this tool for this purpose, but what I mean is sometimes depending what are you building, you probably, you know, if you are building an airplane like that and it looks good for the purpose that you're using it, use it. Okay, then we have the diffuse area where we can tweak the diffusion of this object, and we can make it, you know, black, completely black, or get all the full color of this object. Translucence, same thing. Right now here inside my viewport, I don't see a big difference, but if we render that, we will probably get better results. And now another thing that I want to point out is that right now you don't see the smooth version of this object because we are using Maya software, and we will talk about this in another movie. But for now, just keep in mind that what we are looking at right now is not the smoothed version. Okay, so now more things that we have here. The bump mapping allows me to bring a texture, and based on values of white and gray, in grayscale values, I can modify the shape of this object, making it look like there's some type of irregularity into the surface. And we will talk about this in a few minutes, so please don't worry. Then we have the another options that we have here is the translucent depth, okay, which is not gonna give us a feedback right now. But the focus of the translucence, the same thing. If we tweak that, we will get now a better result, and still it's going to look like similar to what we saw before. But that's all these parameters, you know, you have to tweak them all together in order to get sometimes the result that you really want. And now some of these parameters are better in another type of material, some of these parameters are not exist. They don't exist in other materials, and so right now it's a little bit. I don't want to get you into the different parts of all these different parameters because we don't have the time, unfortunately, and we have a lot of different objects that we need to cover. But obviously in our course we talk about every single parameter of all these different objects, and that's the point, that we want you to know how every single parameter works, and depending what type of object you are creating or what type of scene are you texturing or illuminating, you can use all these different materials in order to get something that you really want. So that's it. Now let's go to the specular shading area, and let me just tweak that. And I don't want to have all this translucent depth and translucent option all the way. So now let me see. I want to have something more flat. There we go. And so now what we have here is the specularity. The specularity means that all these highlights that we can see, all the where the white areas, that's because the light is kind of reflecting there. So we have this kind of simulation. So I can change this color instead of gray, and I can make it white, and you can see how it's changing here in my viewport. Now I can increase all these values. Oh, no, excuse me, this is reflectivity, but I can increase the eccentricity, and that will give me more values of that. And you can see how everything is kind of I have more brightness using this, and that's all based on the roll-off of the specularity. So you can tweak that and make it look like glass kind of, or plastic, but really shiny, like the when you're pool balls, that kind of type of material, plastic. We can come here, make a render. We don't see that really right now. We need to have our lights and things like that, but you can see right here, or even in the Hypershade, the different type of object that we are getting. Actually, that's working better because we are kind of getting a rendered version of this. So if we change the roll-off, you can see how we are changing now the specularity, and the same thing with the eccentricity. We are increasing that spot, and that's what we are doing basically. Now obviously you can change the specular color to red, and now instead of having that white, it's going to be red, and we can increase that number or that value going down like this, and you can see how we are affecting more, and the range is changing, but because we have the white color we can see it more and more. Okay, now the next thing is reflectivity. We are not going to talk about reflectivity right now, reflections, because that's going to take us a while. Now another thing that I want to show you is right here, that you can actually take, for example, another 2D texture, and you can bring a fractal, okay, and then you will have a place 2D texture, you will have a fractal, and then you can connect all these 2D textures. For example, I can take them like this, and I can select first my material, then I can select the fractal, for example, and I can connect that to the color. In this case, I will middle mouse click and drag and place it right here to the color, and that way now I change the color of my object. I can come and show you the render version, and now you can see how it's a complete different object. Now all the distortion that you can see is because of the UVs. We haven't talked about UVs right now, but right now I just want to show you how you can manipulate your materials. So that's how you can create and add materials to your networks, or create networks of materials. If you want to detach this component, all you do is select the arrow that is connecting to these two objects, and then right click, and then you can go you can just select it like this and press delete. Okay, that's easier. So that's the fastest way of deselecting that. Now the same thing, you can take the fractal, you can middle mouse and drag to transparency. You can apply that to the incandescence, to the bump mapping. Now for example, if I drop it into the bump mapping, now you will see that something else appears here. We are calling more objects, more utilities, and now you can see the type of shader that we are getting is actually looks like we have a bump kind of thing here. So let's try to see that in render, and now you can see how the shape of this object looks like. We have it's more like an organic kind of thing. So if we were I don't know, let me just create a plane instead. Let's make it a little bit bigger, just like that. And let me just select, you know what, it will be better. Oh, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna delete it, and then I'm gonna go to surfaces, select one of these, make it bigger, go to my NURBS plane, and I'm gonna change this, the size and the patches, excuse me. And then I'm gonna put a control vertex, and I'm gonna take some of these points, and I'm gonna, you know, kind of create a terrain where we can have our object landing. And then we will go to object mode, and I will take this material and I will apply it to it. And you know what, let's create another material for our airplane. So you know what, I don't want to create another material for my airplane, I want to create another material for the terrain. So I will go here to surface, I will create Lambert. So we will have the Lambert right here. And now what I will do is this, select the arrow that is connecting my material to my bump, select it, delete it. Now select the Lambert, go here, take the bump, middle mouse, drag to the bump mapping, there we go. And my material, I will just come back and change the color, okay, to the one that I had before. Every time we go to the color history, we will have these options that allow us to see the different colors that we previously select. So that's great, perfect. Now we have the Lambert. I will, Lambert number 2, I will change that to the name to terrain, okay. And then I will take the color and I will change it to something more like brownie, okay. And better yet, you know what, we have a texture here called in 2D textures, I believe. There's this one called mountain. So I can take actually a mountain, I can take my utility to place 2D texture, and then I can connect the color of this mountain to the terrain. So I will select the terrain, I will middle mouse click on top of the mountain, and then I will bring it to the color, and that way I will get that. Now this terrain color, or the mountain, is based on kind of, you know, having snow and at the top of the mountain, and then you have the ground, and that's the kind of effect that we are getting. But now let's see how that looks. So what I will do is, now instead of selecting the object and click and dragging, right click and dragging to assign material to selection, what I will do is middle mouse on top of the material, and then I will just drag it on top of the object that I want. In this case is that the terrain, and you can see that it looks great. Well, one thing, press this little button here, and that will allow you to see the material. And obviously now what we can do is come, render this, and we will have this kind of behavior. And what I actually want you to see is how it looks like we have not a plain surface. You can see all these shadows, and the object looks like it's bumpy, all bumpy. It's not like a flat, super smooth kind of object. I mean, I'm gonna save this, and we're going to come here, and we're gonna disconnect the bump. I don't want the bump right now. And now let's take a look at this one, and here's the one without the bump, and here's the one with the bump. Okay, so that's what we do with the bump mapping. And I hope you get the idea of how you can work with materials inside Maya. For now, that's all we got, all we have. And please remember, if you like the videos, just click I like it, and follow us in Facebook, and send us a comment, messages, whatever. Spread the word. Peace, and see you later. Bye-bye.